Hello, and welcome back to the Goodness Margin, the place where we find margin for the good things in life. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about something that I have wanted to share with you for a long time, and I know many of you have asked me about it multiple times. I'm sharing about my paperless filing system. This one system has made a drastic impact in my life. I distinctly remember my husband and I were first married. It was many years ago. We've been married for 17 years, and I had to take a half day off of work because I couldn't find one piece of insurance paperwork. That's a horrible feeling, and it is a wonderful feeling right now to know that I can put my finger on every piece of paperwork that we need. This system has truly created a great amount of margin in my life. We used to have this giant filing cabinet, but now this is all that I have. That these house the important papers, and I have this external hard drive, and that's it. We are completely paperless. This journey actually started before I declared myself a minimalist. When we first moved into our home, I bought this beautiful, large filing cabinet. It was wooden, and we put our printer on it. It was up in our office. Well, fast forward 2 years later, the office became a nursery. So the filing cabinet was moved into the closet. Well, as you can imagine, work time was when baby was sleeping. And of course, I needed to get to that filing cabinet, and no one wants to wake up a sleeping baby. So it just became a problem that the filing cabinet was up there. And I'm not exactly sure what started it, but one day I decided to do a little bit of research, and I discovered that I really did not need the physical copy of all of these papers. So today I'm going to walk you through how I went completely paperless and how you can too. Now, I do want to put your mind at ease. This comes up in conversation fairly often. Anytime anybody discovers that I'm completely paperless, that we don't have a filing cabinet, they're like, hold on, I have some questions. So one of the things I want to talk about are receipts. Many times we need to save receipts for important purchases or something that we need to save for taxes. Have you ever gone back to look at a receipt, especially one a few years old, but sometimes one that maybe was left in your car that was just a couple of weeks old? The way that these are printed, the ink many times will just completely disappear. So the safest way to save a receipt is to have a scanned copy of that receipt. Another thing that people worry about are tax documents. Oh my goodness, what do you mean I need the physical copy of my tax documents? Well, if you stop and think about it, now I would say that probably just about everyone that's watching this video, when you file your taxes, whether you do it yourself or someone else does it for you, it's completely electronic. We hire someone to do our taxes every year, and they send us the completed documents through a secure portal on their website. So why do we print those out and then put them in a filing cabinet when we could just quickly move them over to an external hard drive, and we know that those documents are completely safe? I do want to give a disclaimer. I am not a tax professional. I am not an accountant. You will need to discover what you need to keep for yourself. I will link below in the notes a link to the blog post that is connected to this, and I will share with you a couple of links to some websites that helped me to determine what I decided to keep. In this, I do have birth certificates, social security cards, anything that's notarized that you need to keep. But many things we have are things that we've printed out ourselves or someone else printed out for us, because so much is done electronically. So going digital has never been easier. Now, before we get started, let me share a few tips with you. You do want a good scanner. I had a small scanner that I still use really regularly. It does great for photos or if I need to scan one document, but I had an entire filing cabinet. Now, while I did go through it and discover that I could throw away or shred a lot of that paperwork, I had a lot of things that I needed to scan because we also did all of our business paperwork paperless. I did invest in a really great scanner, and it will scan 50 pieces of paper all at once. It's not cheap, but it has been worth every single penny. And I will also link that below. So you want to have a really good scanner. Also, when you're looking back at some of the things that you need to scan, for example, bank statements. Now I do bank statements every month, and I name those by the month and have those. However, If I'm saving all of my bank statements from 5 years ago, what I did is I just went through and I made sure they were completely in order and I saved them as an entire year. That made it go so much quicker when I was scanning everything in. If you need to access just one of those pages, it's very easy to open that document. You can act like you're going to print it and then just go to that particular page and save that page as a PDF. So it's really simple to access things. And that's just a tip that I want to share, is that some of the things you may want to just save them by the year, because it can get a little bit overwhelming if you're saving documents from years and years past. Another quick tip is manuals. That was something that was in my filing cabinet. I think an entire drawer was manuals. I have another blog post that I will link. I do not keep manuals for anything. I have those all in Evernote. And speaking of Evernote, Evernote is an cloud-based software. So while I keep all of my manuals in Evernote, I do keep some other little things that I need to access quickly. I do not keep medical documents, important documents that have social security numbers or bank statements, anything like that. I don't keep those on my computer. I don't keep them on any cloud-based software, iCloud or Evernote, anything like that, because this information is your personal information. And so you want to keep that safe. That is why I use this external hard drive to keep that information. So definitely keep that in mind when you're scanning stuff in, that you want to keep it somewhere safe. Also, back up those documents on just a simple flash drive. And if you're just getting started and you don't want to purchase a large external hard drive, you can use a flash drive. I do have this because I also have some photos on it, so I need more memory. But for the most of the things you're going to be scanning, you'll save them as a PDF. The files are not very large, and you can just get started with a flash drive. So one last thing on security. You may want to set a password for accessing the documents on this hard drive. That way you're sure that everything is safe. And you definitely want to back things up. Hard drives can fail. I've heard horror stories about people having someone that, especially kids, can pull cords out and all those kinds of things. So you definitely want to be sure to regularly back your files up. But this is just as safe as having your stuff in a filing cabinet. Okay, so now that we have all of those tips and all of those tricks out of the way, I want to share with you the steps that you're going to need to take. This is kind of a large project if you're going to get started and you are going to make all of your files digital. I suggest choosing an area. I chose our dining room and I just took it over for about a week. So you want to gather all of your paperwork. That's step one. Gather all of your paperwork. If you have some in your office, some in a filing cabinet, some in different places, gather all of the paperwork from all over the house into one place. That is super important, that you know everything that you're working with. The next thing that you want to do is you want to look at these links that I've shared or talk to your tax professional. You want to decide what you're keeping. How long going back do you need to have insurance documents for? How many years in the past do you need to have tax information or bank statements? You need to make that decision. So the next step is to create zones. I did this in a very high-tech way. I actually used sticky notes to say financial, medical, auto, insurance, those types of categories that you see that you have, and everyone, their categories may vary just a little bit. I use those sticky notes to place out on the table, and I just put all of the information that I was definitely keeping. So as I went through it, I decided, what do I need to keep? And I put it all in these categories. I made zones. So now that you have the zones, you are ready to organize these into digital files. And before you do these into digital files, you're going to want to decide exactly what you're going to name your files. So I'm going to share with you how I name my files. This is a really easy way to go back and find anything you want very, very quickly. And the great thing about this is you may have a stack of papers like this that are financial. You don't have to put all of those in order. As you save them, they are naturally going to go in order, and that way you can move them to folders. So let me give you an example. I use R for receipts. And so let's pretend that this is a receipt for a really important purchase that we made. Let's say we bought an iPad and we need to keep this receipt. So I am going to save this document. I'm going to scan this receipt in, and I am going to save it as R, let's say I bought it in September of 2020, R 2020 underscore 09, because many times you can't save dashes, but you can save underscores. So R 2020 underscore 09 iPad. If I'm going back to look for that iPad, I'm going to have an idea. I think I bought it in 2020, or I can just search iPad and all of those receipts are going to come up for that. Here are some of the categories that I have things in. I have A for anything that's automobile related. I have F for anything financial related. I have M for medical things. T is for any of my tax documents. H is going to be for anything that's related to my house. We own a house, and so we have things that we need to access for mortgage documents and insurance documents for that. So let's walk through just a few more examples. Let's say my son went to the doctor last month for his checkup, and this is going to be saved. You know, they give you that paperwork at the end that tells you all the things they did and the tests they did, maybe shots they had or anything like that. So I'm going to save that as M is medical. Let's say his initials are ABC. That is one thing that if it's pertinent to one particular person, I'm going to add their initials in there. So M, ABC, 2020 underscore 09 checkup. That way, if I'm looking for anything for him that's medical related, I just open the medical file and I can quickly see anything that's under his initials. Here's to share with you a true story that happened. I think it was last year we sold a car. And so the couple is standing in our kitchen. They bought our car for their son. And in conversation, my husband mentioned that, I don't know, 6 months before we had purchased tires. Well, there's a warranty that goes with those tires. And so they were like, hey, could we have the paperwork for that? Probably 10 years ago, there would have been like mass panic. Oh my word, where's that paperwork? Or if I go up to the filing cabinet, even if I have a good filing system, let's hope that that paperwork got in the right place. However, all I had to do was grab my laptop, grab my external hard drive, I plugged it in, and I quickly clicked onto my automobile folder, and I typed in the word Prius, and it pulled up everything that had to do with that car, and I was able to email them that paperwork very quickly. It would have been so embarrassing if I couldn't find that paperwork for them. And it might have even meant that they didn't want to purchase the car because we told them it had new tires. But how are we going to prove that? So I was able to pull that up really, really quickly. But once you have all of your paperwork scanned in, you have taken, and don't forget to shred the paperwork that has any social security numbers or bank information. That stuff you don't need to throw in the trash. You need to shred that paperwork. Once you're completely done, first of all, take a deep breath and be so grateful that you never have to deal with a filing cabinet again. I think the biggest thing you can think of is imagine the next time you move, you don't have to move with a filing cabinet. I know that every time we've moved, that's always been a thing of, okay, do I take the papers and put it in a box? Because it's just so heavy. So it is just so wonderful and so freeing to not have to worry about that paper. But we do have paper that comes in our house every single day. And I actually have a blog post about how I deal with daily paper that comes in my house, and I'll link that below as well. But I have this folder, and I call it my to scan folder. So if I have something that comes in or a receipt I know that I need to keep, I'm going to put it in this to scan folder. And as you can see, it's got a few little things in here. That means I need to take it and just use my system, scan all of this in, and I'm done. This is the way that I maintain this system. This is quite a commitment. And maybe you say, okay, I don't want to deal with my entire filing cabinet, but we have daily paperwork that comes in our house. You can start today with the things that are in your mailbox right now. You can start going paperless. This system has truly created a great amount of margin in my life, and I believe that it will in yours as well. If you're interested in any of the products that I have mentioned here, I will link them below in this video. If you've enjoyed these videos, please subscribe, hit the bell to be notified for the next time that we have a video. I hope that you are finding margin for the good things in your life.